Hello everyone, this is Glenda Winkleman and welcome back to Creative Grandma. It's Stitch of the Week time and this week is the Crocodile stitch. This is pattern number 228 and I call this the easy version of the Crocodile stitch. I have had so many requests from my subscribers asking me to do a video on this stitch. I never done it before. And I was surprised when I was trying to find the instructions for this stitch. There was so many different ways of doing this crocodile stitch that I have to tell you the truth, I was getting a little frustrated. I didn't even know if I wanted to do this stitch after trying it a couple times. And then I came across a set of instructions that just made it seem so easy. So that's the set I used. So for this video, I hope it makes it easier for you to learn it as well as it did for me. So this here sample here, I have 3 samples to show you. This sample I made using 2 different colors. This pink is actually darker than it's showing up on my monitor, so I hope it's showing up okay. This was just made using Red Heart Super Saver in white and pink. And this one I changed colors every 2 rows. So this is a very pretty one. So in order to get these crocodile scales, so to speak, you change colors every 2 rows because you have a foundation row back here. And the other reason I really like this pattern is because you work in sets of 2 double crochet for that base row. And one of the patterns, it just left a big open gap hole here. So that's why I like this pattern as well, because that 2 double crochet in the rows below where you can't see them actually fills in that hole and makes just a very nice piece. So that's the first sample. The second sample I have is just done in the classic white like I always do. And you can see the little scales. Now this pattern is made, it doesn't overlap each one, it goes in between, and I also like that. So one row you will be going from the outside to the outside, and then when you come back and do this, it's like every other row will be the scales. So when you come back and do the next set of scales, you're actually jumping past the first and working in the middle, and then you come back and work to the edge, and it just makes a really pretty pattern instead of putting them on top of each other. And then for my third sample, I used Red Heart Super Saver in the color number 929 Bikini. And that's a really bright rainbow colors. I just love the brighter colors. So this is the pattern worked with the rainbow colors. So very pretty samples. I'm back and I decided to use the Red Heart Super Saver, and I'm using color number 672 Spring Green. It's kind of a dreary day out there. I needed something nice and bright to show up. I'm also using a size 10J or 6mm crochet hook. So that's what I'm using. You can use whatever yarn and whatever hook you want to use, but this is what I'm using. Now for our sample, we need to chain 22. And for this version of the crocodile stitch, this pattern is a multiple of 6 and add 4. So a multiple of 6 and then add 4 more. So, okay, so this is pattern number 228, the easy crocodile stitch. So go ahead and get your chain 22 ready, and I'll be right back to get started. I'm back and I have my chain 22 ready. Now this video I'm going to do just a little bit different than my other ones. I'm going to try to show you a little bit on paper. This stitch is really intimidating. It was to me, but then after I learned it, I thought, okay, that wasn't so bad. What was I so afraid of? So here is my paper. So I'm going to just explain it a little bit so you can see it. We have our 22 chains made. So this is what you have here. And this is an excellent way if you're not sure about a pattern. If you're reading the pattern, you can, for each chain, just make a line and you can show your stitches and figure it out in your head, and it makes it a lot easier when you're trying to learn to crochet. So for this crocodile stitch, you're using sets of 2 double crochet. So I'm going to show you how to do it, but I'm going to show it on paper first just to try to, that way you can get it in your head of how we're going to be doing this pattern. So you're going to double crochet into the 4th chain from hook. So here's your first 3 chain that you're going to skip, and you're going to work a double crochet in that 4th chain. So this is your 4th chain, and that's your double crochet. Then you're going to chain 2. You're going to skip 2 chain, and then you're going to work 2 double crochet into that next chain. You're going to chain 2. You're going to skip 2 chain, and you're going to work 2 double crochet into the next chain. And you're going to repeat that pattern across to the end of your foundation chain. And you should end with 2 double crochet into your last chain. Now with this pattern, the reason you do a multiple of 6 is because you need an odd number of the sets of 2. So the thing that might confuse people is you got to ignore this one. So you're doing 3 and 3 is 6, and then 6, and then 6. And then you add the 4. So that gives you an even number, but when you add that 4, it gives you your first one, so you have that odd number. So that's why we do it by a multiple of 6 plus 4. So that's just kind of helping you see what you're going to be doing in the first row. Okay, so we're going to begin. Let me grab my chain. I don't mean to take so much of your time. It's just when you're learning a stitch like this, it's kind of nice to kind of get it in your head what you're going to be doing. So we're going to work a double crochet into that 4th chain from hook. Let me zoom up just a little. So you're going to wrap that yarn around your hook. You're going to skip 1, 2, 3, and you're going to go into that 4th chain. Yarn over the hook and pull it through the chain. Yarn over the hook, pull it through 2 loops only. Yarn over the hook and pull it through 2 loops. So this is where you have your beginning chain 3 is your first double crochet, and your next double crochet is your set of 2 for your first set of 2 double crochet. So we're going to chain 2, so yarn over the hook and pull it through the loop. That's your first chain. Yarn over the hook and pull it through your loop. That's your second chain. So now you're going to come down here, and sometimes with this, I notice some people don't hold that, and I can't work like I kind of use my hand, and I just take those last 2 fingers, and if there's any way you can grab a hold of that until you get a little bit of your work done, it makes it so much easier to work. So, okay, yarn over the hook. You're going to skip the next 2 chain, 1, 2. You're going to go into that 3rd chain. So yarn over the hook, pull it through the chain, yarn over the hook, pull it through 2 loops only, yarn over the hook, and pull it through 2 loops. That's your first double crochet of the set of 2. We need 1 more. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same chain, yarn over the hook, and pull it through the chain. Yarn over the hook, pull it through 2 loops only, yarn over the hook, and pull it through 2 loops. So there you made your second set of 2 double crochet. So now, since I showed you how to make the double crochet, I'm just going to do the stitch and tell you the name of the stitch instead of explaining it step by step. So you're going to chain 2, 1, 2. You're going to put your yarn over your hook, skip the next 2 chain, and work 2 double crochet into that 3rd chain. So there's our first double crochet, yarn over the hook, insert it into that same chain and work your second double crochet. So chain 2, yarn over the hook, skip the next 2 chain, insert your hook into that 3rd chain and work your first double crochet. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same chain and work your second double crochet. There's only a couple more stitches to go, so I'll just go ahead and work them with you right across the sample. We'll do this step by step together. Chain 2, yarn over the hook, skip 2 chain, insert into that 3rd and work your first double crochet. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same chain stitch and work your second double crochet. Chain 2, yarn over the hook, skip the next 2 chain, insert it into that 3rd chain, yarn over the hook and work your first double crochet. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same chain space and work your second double crochet. So now we're down to our last 3 chain. So we're going to chain 2, yarn over the hook, you're going to skip 2 chain and you're going to work 2 double crochet into that last chain. So there we're working our first double crochet, yarn over the hook and work your second into that same last chain space. So then this is what your work should look like. Let me zoom out a little bit. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sets of 2 double crochet across. So congratulations, you worked your first row of the crocodile stitch. We're going to begin row 2. So I'm going to grab my paper here. I scribbled there, sorry about that. So when you turn your work, you'll be here. I mean, you're at this end, but then I'd have to draw my thing all over again, so I don't want to. So when you start row 2, your work will be turned, and this will be the end of row 1. So you're going to chain 3 for your first double crochet. But to make the crocodile stitch, you do not work in the top of these stitches. You're going to be working in the post. So grab my sample here. The post is the part between the top and the bottom. So this piece right here. So this right around this is where you're going to be working, and you're going to be working between here and here on this stitch. You will skip 2 double crochet. You'll jump to this one and work your stitches on here and here. So what we do is you're going to work the first one, you chain 3 for your first stitch, but you're going to turn your work and you're going to start at the top and you're going to work 4 double crochet around that post. So you're going to work 4 double crochet. You're just going to turn that sideways. Instead of working across the top, you're going to turn it like this, and you're just going to work right across that post of that stitch. So then when you get those 4 made, you're going to jump over here. Now remember, that's 5 with your chain 3. So when you get those made, then you're going to come down here and you're going to chain 1. So you'll be down here and you'll chain 1. But then the thing about this stitch is you're always turning your work. So when you do those stitches, you chain 1, then you're going to turn your work and you're going to work 5 double crochet on this bar here, this post of the stitch. So what you're doing is you're working from the top to the bottom. You're going to chain 1, and then you're going to work 5 double crochet, but you're going to work them from the bottom to the top. So there's your 5 double crochet there. So when you get to the bottom, you chain 1, you're going to turn your work, and then you're going to work your stitches back up to the top. And then you're going to have to turn your work again so it's facing upright. And I think this is what intimidates people. But like I said, we're going to walk through this step by step. This video is a little bit longer because I'm really going into detail. So I just wanted to kind of explain. You're going to work your stitches down the post, chain one, and then work your 5 double crochet back up the post. So very simple once we do it, but I just want to get that explanation. It kind of sinks in your brain, and then when you're doing it, you say, okay, I see. We're going down, then we're going back up. So let me grab my hook. I hope that helps showing it on paper. I mean, sometimes it helps me. If you don't want to listen to that, then just jump ahead on the video. You don't really have to listen to my explanation. I had one woman say my videos are too long, but my videos are basically made for people who've never crocheted or are learning a new stitch, or, you know, you don't have to watch the whole video. If you're having trouble at a certain point, these videos are long because I show everything. You can always just go to the part that you need help with. You don't have to watch the whole video. So, you know, just use that pause and forward button on the bottom, and that helps you breeze through it a little faster if you don't want to, you know, listen to all the mundane details of stuff. So, okay, let's get started. So for row 2, you're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Now I'm holding my work like so. Now we're going to turn our work. And now we're going to work 4 double crochet from top to bottom. So what you have to do is you're going to have to turn this work sideways. So the side of the stitch is actually facing up is how I do it. Now you might get your own method of how you want to turn your work. So yarn over the hook. I'm going to go right into this post. Do not go in the top. You're going to go in this space between the double crochet, but you're going to work from top to bottom. So insert your hook and work your first double crochet. Now remember, your chain 3 was the first. We need a total of 5. So this is actually 2. We need 3 more stitches. So to work from top to bottom, and you can pull that stitch over. So to work top to bottom, you got to make sure the next stitch is on the side of that stitch. So yarn over the hook and work your next double crochet. So now we have 3. We need 5. Yarn over the hook and work your next double crochet. And we're working all these double crochets in around the post of that double crochet stitch, as you can see. We have 4, we need 1 more. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same space and work around that post and work your last and final 5 double crochet. I just worked our 5 double crochet, the chain 3 counting as the first. So you're going to chain 1. Now you're going to flip your work back over. You're going to have the wrong side of the stitches facing up towards you. And this is actually the right side of your work, but the stitches are going to be wrong side up. So that's probably another reason people get a little confused. So we chained 1, and what you're going to do now is you're just, let me try to grab my yarn here. You're going to wrap your yarn around your hook, and then you're going to bring your hook over, and you're going to work around this post, but you're going to start in the bottom. So I find it easy. Like I said, you're going to find your own method. I use my fingernails a lot in my fingers. Sometimes I stick my finger right between the scale I worked and the stitch I'm going to use. So I'll turn my work. You kind of stick your finger in there or something so you know where it is. Put the yarn over the hook and you bring it between the next set of 2 double crochet in that space, and you work around the bottom of that post and you work your first double crochet. And again, you work down that 1 double crochet, you chained 1, now you turned your work and we're working 5 double crochet back up this post to the top. So yarn over the hook and you turn your work sideways. It makes it easier. and you're going to work your second double crochet. And it helps to kind of stick your finger in there because this hangs down and then this is hanging forward. So whatever works, yarn over the hook, insert it into that post of that double crochet and work your third double crochet. Yarn over the hook, insert it around the post of that same double crochet. And work your fourth double crochet. Now we're going to work our fifth and final double crochet of this scale, insert it around that post, and work your fifth and final double crochet. Chain one. Now just take your work, turn it, and you will see you made your first scale of the crocodile stitch. Now how easy was that? Now if this confused you a little bit, I'm going to continue working right across the sample, every step with you. It did take me a while, I'm not going to lie. When I first did this, I almost give up on the video. The other instructions were just too hard, and this is, like I said, I think one of the easier patterns for this stitch. Okay, so your first scale is made. Congratulations. Now you have a set of two. You worked around this set of two. You're going to skip this. And this is wonderful in this pattern because I wish I had my sample I made that I was frustrated with. That one had nothing here. And then when you put your scales, there was like a big hole like this, and I didn't like that. So we're going to work our second scale. So you're going to skip this 2 double crochet here, and we're going to work our 5 double crochet in this first double crochet of the next set of 2. So skip the set of 2, go into the next set of 2. You're going to work 5 double crochet from top to bottom. Again, I put my finger under my work and I turn it sideways to work my stitches. It's too hard to work stitches keeping your work face up. You have to turn it sideways in order to get those stitches to work them easier. So yarn over the hook. I'm taking my hook down between the skip 2 into that hole underneath that double crochet post and out back through the front, and I work my first double crochet. And you do that 5 times. So there's 1. Yarn over the hook. I'm going back into that space. If you look at your work, that's the skip 2, and this is the next double crochet of that set of 2. So yarn over the hook in that space and under the stitch and out through the front, and work your second double crochet. And then when you work a couple, you are going to have to kind of like pull them up so you have a nice room to work. If you don't, you're just going to feel like there's no place to put your stitches. So go ahead and pull them back. So yarn over the hook. You're going to insert underneath that first double crochet of that set of 2 and work your third double crochet. I need to pull some yarn out. Okay. So I'm going to pull my stitches up just to keep them out of the way so you can see me better. Yarn over the hook, insert it underneath the post of that double crochet from front to back underneath the post, and work, I think this is our 4th double crochet. So we need 1 more for our first half of that scale. So yarn over the hook and work your 5th and final double crochet around that post. You're going to chain 1. Just drop that stitch down, and you're going to turn your work. And you're going to turn it so that second double crochet is facing you, like so, just like in the video that you're watching. This is towards you, and the first half of that scale is facing in the opposite direction. So to work that, I can't get my finger under the yarn, to work our second half of the scale, we're coming around, we're going in the space between this double crochet and the next two. So you're going in that big hole underneath that double crochet, and you're going to work 5 double crochet around that post. So yarn over the hook, go into that post of that double crochet, and we're working from the bottom to the top, and work your first double crochet. Yarn over the hook, insert it underneath that double crochet, and work your second double crochet. And you can see how I put my finger through that hole. It just helps me guide. You know, like if you're working like this and you're up here, it's kind of hard. If you can kind of stick your finger in that hole, it just kind of helps guide your hook. Yarn over the hook, you're going right into where your finger is, right in that same space, and work your third double crochet. Yarn over the hook, insert it around the post of that double crochet, and work your fourth double crochet. We need one more, so yarn over the hook, insert it into that post of that same double crochet, and work your fifth and final double crochet. Chain 1. Now you're going to pull your finger out, drop that scale down, and then you're back to the top of your work, and you just worked your second crocodile scale stitch. So that's your scales. And see how what I was saying about that 2 double crochet you skipped? See how it fills in that hole? And it's so nice not to have those gaps in your work. So that's what's so nice about this particular pattern. Okay, so we have 2 more scale to work. This sample will be 4 scale on row 2. You'll work your base row for row 3. You'll do this row again, and then row 4 you'll have 1 scale in between for 3. So let's go ahead and finish this. You're going to skip the next 2 double crochet. So put your yarn over your hook. You're going to work 5 double crochet from top to bottom in this post here, right in this stitch here. So 5 double crochet from top to bottom. Again, you're going to have to turn your work sideways. So yarn over the hook, skip 2, turn your work sideways, and you're going to work across this post of this double crochet. And work your first double crochet, and again I stick my finger in that hole because it's so easy. It's just, it helps guide your hook right into where you need to be. So if that helps you, just try it, or you'll have your own method of doing things. Yarn over the hook, insert it around the post of that same double crochet, and work your second double crochet. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same double crochet around that post, and work your third. Remember, you're working from top to bottom, so that stitch has to be on this side of your stitches you're working. Yarn over the hook and work your fourth double crochet. Yarn over the hook and work your fifth and final double crochet of the first half of your scale. So there's your first half made. You're going to chain 1. You're going to push that down towards the bottom. So that's your first half, and then this is back to the right side of your work. Now we're going to work our second half. You're going to turn your work. And again, this second double crochet for the second half of your scale should be facing towards you this way. And this scale needs to be pointing away from you that way. So hold it exactly like this, and you're going to start and work 5 double crochet, but you're going to work them from the bottom to the top. So wrap that yarn around your hook. You're going to go between the next 2 double crochet in this big hole. You're going to insert it through that hole, underneath that stitch, and back out through the front. And you're going to work your first double crochet. And all your stitches will be worked in that same space. You can pull that stitch over so you have more room. Like I said, I put my finger in here. I try to keep my finger right kind of like through the bottom and out through here. Yarn over the hook, put it through that same post of that same double crochet and work your second double crochet. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same post of that same double crochet and work your third double crochet. Yarn over the hook, insert it into the post of that same double crochet and work your fourth double crochet. Yarn over the hook, insert it around the post of that same double crochet and work your fifth and final double crochet of that scale. You're going to chain 1, you're going to push that scale down, and you can see you just made your third scale of the 4 for our sample. So are you getting the hang of it yet? Like I said, it was intimidating. I mean, you will get this and you will have fun with this stitch. Okay, so we're over to our last 2 sets of 2 double crochet. So I need to grab something and I'll be right back to show you a secret of what you can do so you don't mess up your end. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Now when I worked the stitch, I did notice when you're working your last scale stitch, you're going to work the first half and then this kind of disappears on you and then you're standing there trying to figure out where it is. So I took a piece of contrasting yarn, doesn't have to be very big, and I'm going to just put it through that last double crochet and I'm just going to tie it once. Now the reason I'm going to do that, and you'll see, is because once you work this, all you have to do is grab this thread, pull it, and you'll find your stitch. And you won't understand what I mean until we get there. So let's go ahead and work that last scale of this row. So I just need to look at my notes real quick. Okay. We're going to skip this set of 2 double crochet and we're going to do the same thing that we did. We're going to work our last scale. We're going to start from the top and work 5 double crochet down this post. We're going to chain 1 and work 5 double crochet back up the post. So let's begin. You're going to put your yarn over your hook. You're going to insert into that hole, that big hole, underneath your double crochet and out to the front. And you're going to work your first double crochet stitch. Now you're going to put your yarn over the hook, insert it under that same post of that same double crochet and work your second double crochet. I hope my fingers are not in the way because of the way I crochet. It's just the way I find it easier to do. Yarn over the hook, insert it under the post of that same double crochet and work your third double crochet. At this point, I'm going to pull mine back and give me a little more room to work. Yarn over the hook, insert it under the post of that same double crochet and work your fourth double crochet. Yarn over the hook, insert it under the post of that same double crochet and work your fifth and final double crochet of that first half of that scale. You're going to chain 1. You're going to drop that stitch down and you're back to the top of your work. Okay, so now you can see the stitch because my yarn's in it, but if that yarn wasn't there, you're going to look and you're going to turn your work and you got to try to figure out where that last double crochet is. So in order to make sure you know where you're putting that stitch, it's best, until you do this, until you learn this stitch, it's best to just tie this yarn on before you do the last scale of the row, just to be safe, just to make sure you're not going in the wrong spot. Because to do all this work and learn it and then not be putting it in the right space is frustrating. You're going to get frustrated and you're not going to want to do it. So this string helps. I leave it in there until I do my first stitch. But if you couldn't find this and it was like down in there and you're trying to figure out, you just pull this and there's your stitch. There's the post you're going to work around. So we're going to start from the bottom and we're going to work to the top. So you're just going in a circle, a half circle, down and then back up. Yarn over the hook, find that stitch that you're going to work in. It's right here. And work your first double crochet around the post of that last double crochet. Yarn over the hook and work your second double crochet around the post of that last double crochet. Okay, I know where the stitch is. You worked your stitches in it. You just grab it and pull it right back out. Very simple. Yarn over the hook, insert it under that post of that same last double crochet and work your third double crochet. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same space underneath the post of that last double crochet and work your fourth double crochet. And now we need one more for our fifth and final double crochet. So yarn over the hook and work your fifth and final double crochet. You're going to take it and you're going to push that stitch down. That's your 4 scales, but we need to secure this scale, so you're going to turn your work to the back side, and this is what it should look like. This is your last scale. You turned your work and this is how it should look. So you're going to just come over here and you're going to insert your hook into the center of that last scale you just made, right here at the top. Insert your hook and work a slip stitch. Just pull that yarn through all loops on your hook, and that secures your last scale stitch. So congratulations, that's wonderful. We did our first set of scales. So now this was our base row. So rows 1 and 2 is the base rows, and row 3, 4, 5, and 6 will be your repeat rows for the pattern. So if you've learned this, you're going to know how to do the other rows very easily. So we'll be right back and we're going to start row 3. I'm at the end of round 2 and we just secured our scale stitch that we just finished for the previous row, and our work is on the wrong side now. You already turned it when you secured that last stitch. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back and we need our sets of 2 double crochet again in order to work our scales. So to do that, we're just going to chain 3 for our first double crochet right in that same space where you slip stitched. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3. You're going to work a double crochet in the same space right here. So yarn over the hook, insert it into the top center of that scale, and work a double crochet. So there, oops, I don't know why that gets fuzzy. So there you made your first set of double crochet, and you're getting your base row ready to work that next set of shells. Sorry, I have to pull some yarn out. Okay, we're going to chain 2, 1, 2. So now we're going to secure our scales. If you look here, there's like a gap. You can pull that apart. We don't want that to pull apart like that. So what you're going to do is you're going to be working from the back, and you're going to go through those 2 center double crochet, and then you're just going to go in between. you're going to go in between these two scales. So you're working between those two double crochet and you're coming out here and you're going to work that stitch right around there, and that secures it. So let me go ahead and show you. So yarn over the hook, insert it right between these two double crochet, and then if you look on the front of your work, you're going to go right between the scales, right under there, and insert your hook from front to back. And then you're just going to work your double crochet right through all that. So there's your first double crochet. And what happens is, you can see that secures right here, how that's loose. You're working, like I said, your hook's coming from the back through to the front, and then it's going right here around this, and you're securing that with this double crochet here. I hope this isn't confusing you. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same space between those two double crochet, front to back, clear to the front, right between those two scales, and work that double crochet. And that's how you secure your scale row to the back. You're going to chain 2. You're going to insert, you're going to put the yarn over your hook, and you're going to work 2 double crochet into the center of the next scale stitch. So go ahead and work your first double crochet, yarn over the hook, and work your second in that same center of that next scale here. So as you can see, we're starting that base row again of our sets of 2 double crochet. So chain 2, yarn over the hook, you're going to insert between the center of those next 2 double crochet, and then you're going to go right under this next piece here between the scales, and right out through the front. So you're going through both pieces and work that first double crochet. Yarn over the hook, insert it into that same space between those 2 double crochet, right out from the front to the back, and work that second double crochet. Chain 2, find the center of your next scale right here, and work 2 double crochet in the center of that next scale. There's our first. Yarn over the hook and work your second. You're going to chain 2. You're going to find your next set of 2 double crochet, yarn over the hook, insert it through those 2 double crochet, and from the front all the way to the back, in between those 2 scales, and work your first double crochet. Yarn over the hook, insert into that same space, and work your second double crochet. You're going to chain 2. You're going to work your final set of 2 double crochet in the center of that last scale. So find your center right here in that big hole, yarn over the hook, and work your first double crochet. Yarn over the hook and work your second double crochet. And that is the end of row 3. Now let me zoom out just a little bit, because I did forget to tell you. Let me grab my sample here. If you wanted to work each row a scale in a different color, whether it's 2 colors or 10 colors, you always change color when you start this row here with the double crochet. So I would have fastened out after you slip stitched. You would fasten off and you would pull that new color through when you start that chain 3. And that's how you work when you do the extra colors. Always change colors in the second row. Or let me think. No, that would be the odd row. So row 1 is your double crochet, row 2, the even rows are the scale, the odd rows are the base chain. So every odd row you would change your color if you're changing colors. Okay, and that's what it looks like when you change your colors. We're at the end of row 3 and we're going to get ready to start our 4th row. So we're going to chain 1. So chain 1 and then turn your work. So for row 4, we want to go in between. We want to be over here and work our scales in between these scales. So we're going to work the next row in between. So that would be like this. We did our 4, but row 4 will only be 3 scale. So in order to do that, we just chained 1. So we're going to skip this whole section here. We're just going to skip that and we're going to jump over to our second set of double crochets. So you chained 1 and you're going to come all the way over here past all this, yarn over the hook. You're going to go into the big hole from front to back and then from back to front around the post of that stitch like so. You're going to turn your work sideways, and I kind of, like I said, grab it and try to stick my finger up there, or however easier it is for you. You may want to pinch it and kind of hold it like that and work it with it pinched down. So work your first double crochet around the post of that first double crochet of that set of 2. Yarn over the hook, insert it around the post of that same double crochet and work your second double crochet. Yarn over the hook and work your third double crochet in that same post of that first double crochet. Usually after I make 3, I try to pull them over a little just to have a nice area to work your stitches. Yarn over the hook and work your 4th double crochet. Yarn over the hook and work your 5th. You're going to chain 1. I like to drop this down. When you drop this down, it makes you straighten your work so you kind of can figure out where you're at. So you drop that and then you're going to turn your work and try to figure out where your stitch is. Well, you just worked down, now you need to work back up. So if you fold this down, let me take my hook out. If you kind of like fold that down, it brings you back where you need to be. Because when you're working that, you're over here, you finished, whoops. See, you finished, but if you're pinching it and you're holding it, when you let go, it's kind of like, okay, where do I go? So if you fold that down to show your half of that scale, you know you need to turn your work and find the other stitch. It's right here. So right here is where you're going to work from the bottom to the top. So you're going to put your yarn over the hook and you're going to turn your work, and this double crochet should be facing you and your shell stitch, your scale stitch should be facing away. So insert it into that double crochet and work your first double crochet underneath that stitch. So you have to just get really in there, find a good way to hold it, and work your first double crochet. I find it easier if I have that big hole there, because then I know that my hook goes in that big hole underneath the stitch and out the other side. It's a lot easier to find your stitch. Yarn over the hook and work your second double crochet. Yarn over the hook and work your third double crochet. And like I said, if you keep working, it's going to feel like you have no place to put your stitches. So go ahead and pull that over and make a little more room for those last 2 double crochet. Yarn over the hook, work your 4th double crochet around that same post of that double crochet. Yarn over the hook and work your 5th. chain 1. Okay, you worked your first scale. So I think you have the hang of how to do your scale stitch. So I'm going to work a little bit faster across the row, but I will do it step by step all the way across to show you. So yarn over the hook. You're going to skip the next 2 double crochet. You're going to insert your hook in that big hole between the 2. Go underneath that double crochet post and out through the front. You're going to work 5 double crochet from top to bottom. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to drop that half scale down, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to work 5 double crochet from the base of this double crochet post up to the top. So with that, I put my yarn over my hook and I turn my work, and you're going to turn it so this post is facing you, and the shell, or this half of that scale shell stitch, is facing away. Go into that big space between the 2 double crochet, go underneath that post and out through the center, and work your first double crochet. Yarn over the hook and work 4 more double crochet from the bottom to the top. Yarn over the hook, I'm working my 3rd double crochet, and usually when I get to the 3rd double crochet I do pull them over to make more room for the other 2 stitches. So yarn over the hook and work your 4th double crochet, yarn over the hook and work your 5th. You're going to chain 1, you're going to turn your work and drop that scale down, and you can see how it's working in between the scales. So we have 1 more to make, so let's get to it. Same as before, yarn over the hook. You're going to skip the next 2 double crochet. You're going to insert your hook into the big space between the 2 sets, underneath that first double crochet and out through the front. And you're going to work 5 double crochet around the post of that stitch from top to bottom. So there's our first. There's our second. There's our 3rd double crochet. Pull your stitches over to make room for the last 2. Yarn over the hook and work your 4th stitch. Yarn over the hook and work your 5th. You're going to chain 1. You're going to drop that half scale down. You're going to look for your double crochet stitch, which is here. So like I said, you're working in a half circle here. So you just worked around that double crochet. You're going to turn your work. Your double crochet should be running crossways, this towards you, and your first half of your scale that you just worked is pointing away from you. So go ahead and you're going to yarn over the hook, insert in the big space underneath that double crochet stitch and towards the center, and work your first double crochet from bottom to top. Yarn over the hook and work your 2nd around that same post of that same double crochet, just like before. Yarn over the hook, work that 3rd double crochet around the post of that same double crochet stitch. Pull your stitches over to make room for the other 2. Yarn over the hook and work your 4th double crochet around that post of that stitch. Yarn over the hook and work your 5th and final double crochet around that post. You're going to drop your scales down. Oops, my hook just came out. That's okay. So now you have your 3 scale in between the 4. So we're going to secure our row now and finish it. So look for your last 2 double crochet. You have your double crochet and you have that beginning chain 3 space there. So to finish row 4, all you're going to do is insert your hook in between those 2 stitches. Front to back, yarn over the hook, and slip stitch. So there, you just secured your row. So now row 5 will be putting your 2 double crochet base row in to make your scales. So I'll be right back to start row 5. So with row 5, you need to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. The other thing I did want to mention is, for this pattern and any of my patterns, it's always best to request the written copy of the instructions, especially for this one. Go ahead and try to use the video to practice until I get them sent to you. I do get overwhelmed at times with pattern requests, so sometimes it might take me a while. If you do not hear from me, please email me again, because I do seem to be having a little bit of trouble. Another thing is, when I see people, they're leaving comments on some of the videos, and I try to check all the videos, but sometimes I don't get notified, and I'll get on there and there'll be comments from weeks ago that I never even seen. So if you have a particular question, just go ahead and email me at my email address. And I am starting to put my written patterns on Ravelry. I'm just learning how. I got 2 on, so I'm under Glenda Winkleman, and you can I'm trying to get them on as fast as I can, but I'm really slow. I don't have a lot of time to do it, so when I get time, I'm trying to get them on there to make it easier for you to see the pattern and get the written instructions. So just some thoughts there to try to keep you updated to make it easier to get these patterns. But please email me for this pattern, because it's better to have the instructions to follow along with this one. Okay, so we chain 3, we're going to turn our work, and we're going to begin row 5. So again, row 5 is putting our base row of our double crochet stitches back in. So this is where we chain 3. This was your last 2 double crochet of the previous row. You're going to just put your yarn over your hook, insert it back into that same space where you slip stitched, and you're going to work a second double crochet. Your chain 3 was the first. This would be the second. So there's your first 2 double crochet of your next base row for your scale. You're going to chain 2. You can see a pattern of how this is made now. Once you do these rows, that's how you're going to do it, and it is a fun stitch once you learn it. Yarn over the hook, and you're going to work 2 double crochet into the center of that next scale, which is that big hole. It's very easy to find, so just go ahead and work 2 double crochet in that space. There's our first. Yarn over the hook and work your second. You're going to chain 2. You're going to find your next set of 2 double crochet, which, if you look for this big hole in the center of that previous scale and follow it up, that's your 2 double crochet. Because sometimes if you've never crocheted before, or if you're kind of new at crocheting, this is an intimidating stitch when you're looking at the back. It can kind of look confusing to you. So just look for that hole of the center. Your 2 double crochet are right there. Follow them up, and you're going to work 2 double crochet, yarn over the hook, go through those 2 double crochet from front to back all the way out, and you're going to be working between your 2 scales, and that stitch will be worked right there to secure your scales to that previous row. So work your first double crochet, yarn over the hook, insert it into that same space between those 2 double crochet from front to back all the way back, and work your second. You're going to chain 2. You're going to look for the center of the next scale stitch, which is here, and you're going to work 2 double crochet. There's our first. Yarn over the hook and work your second. You're going to chain 2. Look for your 2 double crochet. So go all the way down to the hole, the big hole in the center of that scale. There it is. Follow it up. There's your 2 double crochet. So yarn over the hook, insert it in the center between those 2 double crochet from front to back all the way out to the front between these 2 scales, and work your double crochet through both thicknesses of that. Yarn over the hook and work your second. You're going to chain 2. You're going to come over and you're going to look for the center of that next scale, which is here where the hole is, and work 2 double crochet. You're going to chain 2. Now you're going to come over here and hunt your last 2 double crochet. It's on the end, but you can still find it. Go down, look for the center of this scale. Here it is where the hole is, and your 2 double crochet, follow it right up, and they're right here. Insert your hook in between those last 2 double crochet and work 2 double crochet. Now this one you will not be securing anything. You only work between this last space here because it's already secured when you ended that row with your slip stitch. So you just work between here, just in that space only. And there you have your base row ready to put your shells on for row 6. So I'll be right back to show you how to do row 6, which is the final row of your repeat. To start row 6, we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and this is our classifies as the first double crochet. You're going to turn your work, and you have your work facing upright. You need to turn it, and we're going to be working in this first double crochet of the first set of 2. We're going to work our 5 double, well, the first scale we do 4 double crochet because our chain 3 counts as 1. So we're going to go ahead and work our 4 double crochet from top to bottom. We're going to chain 1 and work our 5 double crochet from bottom to the top. So yarn over the hook. We're going to insert it in between that first and second double crochet post, and we're going to work around that first double crochet. So here's our first, well, this is classified as our second double crochet. So we have our chain 3 as 1, and this double crochet is 2. So yarn over the hook, work your 3rd double crochet, yarn over the hook and work your 4th, yarn over the hook and work your 5th. You're going to chain 1. You're going to pull this over to where your scales are facing right side up. You're going to drop your scale down, and then you are going to, this yarn out of here, you're going to turn your work again the opposite way, and then your work should be facing right side up with your scales, and then you're looking for this next double crochet. So you're going to bring your hook around, you're going to insert it in the bigger hole between the 2 sets of 2, and you're going to go underneath that, the post of that double crochet. So the double crochet should be facing you, and the half of the scale that you just made is facing away, and this is how your hook should look before you make that first stitch and the rest of your stitches. So the point of your hook is pointing away.
yarn over the hook, and work your first double crochet. Okay, I did something wrong there since I was talking. Or maybe I did do it right. Yarn over the hook. You're going to work around that post of that double crochet and work your first double crochet. Yarn over the hook. Insert your hook around the post of that double crochet and work your second double crochet. Yarn over the hook, insert it in that same post, and work your third double crochet. Yarn over the hook, insert it under that post, and work your fourth double crochet. Yarn over the hook and work your fifth and final double crochet around that same post. Chain one, lower that scale, check your work, and you can see that the scale here will line up with the scale with the, not that row, but the row below that. It should line up. And then the next scale will line up with this one, the next scale will line up with this one, and then the last scale will line up with the last scale of the first row of scales you've done. Okay, so we're going to finish the rest of this row. I think you have the hang of doing your scales by this point, hopefully so. If not, we're going to finish this row. So you're going to skip this set of 2 double crochet, and you're going to jump over to the first double crochet of this next set, and we're going to do the same thing, our 5 double crochet down and then our 5 double crochet up. So then you're going to turn your work, and you'll turn it so the double crochet is sideways facing you. Yarn over the hook. You're going to go in through that big space between the skip 2 double crochet and the double crochets you're working on. You're going to go from front to back and then from back to front underneath that stitch. Yarn over the hook and work your first double crochet. Yarn over the hook, insert it under that same post and work your second double crochet. Yarn over the hook, insert it in that same post to that same double crochet, and like I said, you'll get your own method or way of holding your work that's most comfortable for you. Okay, yarn over the hook and insert it under the same post. That's your 4th double crochet. Yarn over and work your 5th and final double crochet around that post. Chain 1. You're going to bend that scale down and you're going to turn your work. Your work should look like this with your right side facing. The double crochet is crossways facing you and your half a scale is facing away. And you're going to come over. You're going to put your yarn over your hook. You're going to bring your hook in between this big space between the skip, well, that's not the skip single crochet, between this set of 2 double crochet and the double crochet you're working on. You're going to go in that space from front to back, from back to front around the post, just underneath that stitch, and work your first double crochet. Yarn over the hook and work your second double crochet in that same post of that same double crochet. Yarn over the hook and work your 3rd double crochet around that same post. I squish them over, yarn over the hook, insert it in that same post and work your 4th double crochet. Yarn over the hook, insert it around the post of that same double crochet and work your 5th and final double crochet. Chain 1. Check your work. Now you don't have to check your work if you're making something and you got the hang of this. This is just if you're starting out and you've never done the stitch. So it looks pretty good. You can see everything lines up. So let's go ahead and finish this row. We have 2 more scales to make. So we're going to skip this set of 2 double crochet and we're going to jump over here to this one. So you're going to put your yarn over your hook, you're going to insert it into that larger space, go from front to back and then back to front around the post of that double crochet. Yarn over the hook and work your 5 double crochet into that same space around that post of that double crochet. So there's 2, there's 3, there's 4, and there's 5. You're going to chain 1. Now you're going to lower that scale, right side facing. You're going to turn your work. My yarn always seems to be in the way when I'm trying to show you something. Okay, so this is how you should be holding it to make your second half. Your double crochet should be sideways. This end of the work should be facing you, this should be facing you, and the scale, the half scale you made, should be facing away. Yarn over your hook. You're going to come around. Sometimes it's easier to hold this scale down with your finger until you get that first stitch made. You're going to come into the larger hole, front to back, back to front around that double crochet post. Work your 5 double crochet into the same space. Oops. Okay, let me start that over. I really messed that up. I'm not looking at my work when I'm doing it. I'm actually looking at the monitor, and sometimes I get it messed up. Okay, yarn over my hook and I'm working my first double crochet. Yarn over the hook and I'm working my second double crochet around that same post. Yarn over the hook, work your third. I pull this back a little bit. Yarn over the hook and work my fourth. Yarn over the hook and work my fifth. Chain 1. Then I lower my scale. Looks good. I'm going to take a piece of yarn because I'm over at my last scale to be worked, and I'm just going to place it around this last double crochet stitch. And like I said, you don't have to do that. That's just for people beginning who, if you have trouble figuring out where the end of your row is, you don't want to put a lot of time in your work and then find out your work's uneven because you put it in the wrong space. So to make our last scale of our last repeat row, yarn over the hook, you're going to skip this next set of 2 double crochet. We're going to work 5 double crochet from top to bottom around the first double crochet, and then we're going to work 5 double crochet from bottom to top around the last stitch. So let's go ahead and get that last one made. There's our first double crochet. Work our second around that same post. I'm twisting mine back and holding it this way instead of putting my fingers through. I think the bigger it gets, the more you're going to change your positioning of your hands of how you're going to work this stitch. Whatever is easier to keep track of that stitch you're working. But once you get the first stitch in, it's pretty easy to keep track of where to put the rest of the stitches. So there's our 5th and final double crochet of our first half of our scale. You're going to chain 1, you're going to drop that scale down so your right side of your work is facing, and you're going to turn your work. Now to find where you're going to put your last half of scale, you just pull this and you're going to put it in this last stitch here where the yarn is tied. Just going to shove that out of the way. So this is where you're going to put your last half, right in that last stitch. So turn your work so your last stitch is facing you sideways, and the first half of the scale is facing away. Yarn over the hook, insert it underneath the post of that last stitch, and work your 5 double crochet from bottom to top. So there's 1, there's 2, 3, and now since I pretty much know where to go, just grab that thread, just pull it right out of there. Yarn over the hook and work your 4th double crochet, yarn over the hook and work your 5th. So now we need to secure our stitch, so you're going to have your work on the back side now, and you need to bring your hook around. You're going to insert it into the center of that scale, the last one you just made. Just insert it and work a slip stitch. Yarn over the hook and bring it through all loops on your hook. And that secures that last scale. Now I'm just going to fasten this off. And that is how you do the crocodile stitch. I hope this episode was easy for you to do, to figure out this amazing stitch. And again, here is our sample of our pink and white. This is done changing colors every 2 rows, and you change colors when you're putting your double crochets in your base row. So that's the 2 color one. This is our solid white one again, so it does look pretty in solid colors. I love this pink and white one. I just like how the 2 colors look. And then this is the one with the variegated. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for stopping by and spending some time crocheting with me. I hope this video has been helpful. And please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel.